I am so ready to go live. There were a couple snags here in this live stream, at least getting it going. Are we on? Are we on? Oh, we're on. And now we're official. Theme music, please. How about that? A 2-1 Sharks win over the Carolina Hurricanes. Before tonight, Carolina had lost 2 games, but they had never lost in overtime. 14-2-0 now turns to 14-2-1. Courtesy of the San Jose Sharks. And in a game where San Jose never had the lead until Barabanov's 3rd goal of the season in overtime, was 4-on-3, was about to turn into 4-on-4. What a weird sequence. What a weird way that happens, you know? And actually, when the penalty was taken there in the final seconds or final minute of the 3rd period, I was like, Sharks, give up the puck. Start the power play now. They were patient. They were patient in the first minute 22 of overtime, and then they were finally rewarded. Welcome to Sharks Night Shift. I'm here at the NBC Sports Studios. I always like to come on YouTube after every game, but they're especially sweeter in wins like this and situations like this, where the Sharks kind of felt up against it. Hadn't scored a goal since Thursday night, right, in St. Louis, 2nd period of that game. So they were shut out in the 3rd period of St. Louis. They were shut out all of Saturday night against the Washington Capitals. Don't score in the first 2 periods of tonight, and you know how it goes. Everybody grips the stick a little bit tighter. Everybody feels a little bit snake bit. All those bounces that could have gone your way don't. Was that the Balsers shot that went off of Ranta, off the post and across the crease? And I do think a main story of tonight was that the Sharks kept it close enough. Almost how on Saturday night, when it was 2-0 Caps for, a lot of the game, it wasn't 3-0 and then 4-0 until the very end. But the Sharks have done a good job at maintaining close games even when they're behind. Now, don't get me wrong. There have been times where it feels over earlier than later, but at least on the scoreboard tonight, and Carolina didn't get their goal, until the 2nd period, minute 16 into the 2nd period, but it was a scoreless first. They score 1 in the 2nd. It's still that same score going into 2nd intermission. I guess what I'm saying is the Sharks have kept a lot of games, even when they're trailing, manageable this year, and tonight they were able to capitalize on that. But there's also this, and I think this deserves kind of like its own full discussion. There have been a lot of mirage games. Do you know what I'm saying when I say a mirage game? Why do I feel like I'm saying the word mirage funny? Mirage? You know what I'm talking about. You are desperately chasing something, and you feel like you're that close, except in reality, you're like that close. And I feel like maybe trailing the Caps 2-0 for a majority of, Saturday night, the Sharks were in it, but they did not feel like, definitely not the better team. Even tonight, the Sharks were chasing 1-0 through a lot of regulation. And it didn't feel like they had a grasp on the game. Like, it was close enough, but it was that mirage of like, man, I'm only 5 feet away from this water. But in reality, it was more like 25 feet. It looked a lot different than it actually was. I don't know. And maybe tonight was one of those games where Carolina, just the defensive pressure they put on the Sharks, the gaps that they did not give the Sharks was incredible. How are you supposed to make a play when as soon as you have the puck on your stick, you're marked just like that? Ooh, bad acoustics in this room. Did you hear that? Listen to this. Hear that echo? I mean, after all, it is a conference room. It's not meant for anything like I'm actually using it for here, but I digress. And also there were a couple times, and Brownie beautifully demonstrated it on our post-game show. Sharks make a pass, cross the ice, breaking out, and all of a sudden, as soon as the recipient of the pass has the puck on their tape, bang, they're defended too. So Carolina, back-checking like crazy, forechecking like crazy. They just pressured the Sharks up and down the ice all night long, which made it, honestly made it difficult to even get good chances early on. Sharks had 8 shots in the first, 8 shots in the second, 8 shots on goal in the third. The distribution of shots I thought was interesting. At one point, Timo Meier led the team with 6. Brent Burns, I'm not sure if he finished the game even with a recorded shot on goal. Took a couple shots, had one blocked, definitely had one missed there. Was that in overtime or the third? But yeah, and I saw a comment here, and I will get to more of these. In fact, I'll get to all the comments in just a second. It was kind of a statement win tonight. I really do think that. No team in the league has 14 wins into tonight like Carolina did. And I know the Sharks gave up a point. You know what? I'm not focusing on that at all. They're not in the division. They're not in the conference. I don't care what they get. The Sharks got 2 points against Carolina. That's something that only 3 teams have done this year in 17 tries. Think about that for a second. Canes have played 17 games. Only 3 times has their opponent registered 2 points. So that happens for the Sharks tonight. Great to see Barabanov, by the way, bury the game winner. And on that pass that Hertl gave him, it almost looked like the puck got away from Hertl's blade a little bit, like he was trying to wrap it again, put another shot on goal. Instead, it went through, I didn't see who it was, Carolina's like literally under his armpit, right to Barabanov. He was able to bury it behind Ranta. But how about Barabanov? Earlier in the game, Nino Niederreiter just drilled him in the corner. And that's twice in the last 3 games that Barabanov has taken a really physical hit. One that, questions whether he'll stay in the game or not. Obviously got checked out and was fine afterwards. But man, Barabanov took one from Niederreiter tonight. He took one from Matt Dumba in that game against Minnesota back on the road trip. And common thread, I didn't like the Dumba hit. I didn't think Dumba was trying to play the puck at all. I think he was just trying to run Barabanov over, had him lined up. This one, Niederreiter, it was in the corner. Barabanov came up on Niederreiter to make the hit. So it is what it is. Anything else I wanted to talk about here? Time and space, the mirage aspect. Hertl had some great late chances. That wraparound move for him, I'd love to see that more often. I'd love to see it from him and Timo more often. Both these guys have the strength. They've got the body. They've got the handles typically to make that wrap move. And I feel like it's not a lost art. It just, I don't know. I feel like in prior decades and generations, used to see the wraparound a lot more than we do here in 2021. So, look, I could chat about this stuff all night, but you guys are all here, and I definitely appreciate that. So, let's jump into the chat. Let's desperately hope that I've made some fixes so that my graphics aren't jumping around here tonight. Oh, looks fine for now. Glad Barabanov scored the winner after all the headshots he's been taking and not getting any calls from the refs. I know you typed that in a long time ago. That's just what I was talking about. Totally agree. Hetty was fired up about the refs all night long, and rightfully so. I think there's definitely something to what Brett's onto. A couple lack of calls. And how about like the Vlasic tripping call? What a joke tonight. That was such a bad call on San Jose. Totally undeserved. And there were a couple times that Shark players got tripped or hooked or interfered with, and there was nothing. Erik Karlsson had a right to be pretty upset late in the game there too. So I'm still not on the blame the refs train entirely yet for this and the lack of Sharks power plays. Although think about tonight, they got on their one power play in the third period, carried over into OT, and it was a power play influenced OT goal. So they did make the most of it. I still think the Sharks can do a little bit more to earn some of these power plays rather than let's nitpick the officials for how they're calling a game. Best feeling in a while. Okay, Haley. Honestly, what's the deal with the officiating though lately? So again, I'm not going to say the Sharks. I'm not going to say the Sharks are getting it fair right now. I'm not saying that at all. There's a couple times every game where I'm like, oh, come on, guys. But like I said, I'm not ready to use that as one of my main points. The most egregious penalty blindness. Okay. Wow, there's a lot of referee comments here, and these were earlier on. Hertl and Meier played great tonight. Would have liked to seen Burnsy shoot some more. Yeah, and as I mentioned there, I don't think Brent Burns took a shot on goal. Give me 1 second here while I pull up the NHL's media stat page. It's going to take me just a second to log in. I'm going to show you the exact same stats that we all use as broadcasters. I'm doing this here now so that nobody sees my password or how exactly this works. Not like it's top secret or anything, but I think I can bring this up on the screen like that. Boom. Yes, I can. So you look at tonight and shots on goal for the Sharks. And this is interesting. Of their 27 shots, yeah, Timo ends with 6. Bernsey did not have a shot recorded. Like I said, 1 blocked, 1 missed. Balcers had 4. He had the next most shots. Nick Bonino had 3. Still looking for that first assist or first point. But how about Bonino? I mean, granted, I know he loved the points right now. I know he'd love to get off that schneid. He won 11 of 15 draws, 73%. You know, and I would say this, there's a lot of players here who didn't get a shot on goal for the Sharks. It looks like about 60-40 of players with shots versus not. How about Carolina? They only had 1, 2, 3, 4 skaters in total not get a shot. Look at all these ones. Everybody gets a look tonight. And Tony DeAngelo, who had the goal, led them with 4. They actually got outshot by 4 tonight. But shots aren't everything. And actually, I'll tell you what, puck possession felt like everything. When Carolina, I mean, they did such a good job defensively, but there were times tonight where it felt like the Sharks had a hard time just getting the puck back. So to outshoot them in the end, I think says a lot. Logan was good on the dots, 1-7 of 11 draws. Hurdle was good on faceoffs, 1-9 of 14, 64%. But yeah, going back to Bernsey there, this is such a rarity. I mean, it's also kind of a rarity that he only played 23 minutes. Usually he's logging a little bit more time than that, but hey, if they can give him a little bit of a breather after all the heavy lifting he did during the COVID sweep for the Sharks, I get it. I want to pull this up too. So that's the event summary. Here's the game summary. It just kind of gives you all the penalties and the breakdown of power plays and even strength and goalies. So for Ronta, they're 25 saves, and for Reimer, 22 saves. And Brownie already called it. He thinks Reimer's getting the start on Wednesday against Ottawa. I got to tell you. Oh, and you know what? I should pull this up too. In fact, I'm gonna do that right now. Give me one other second here. It's quiet in here. I should do my own ASMR video while I'm here. Just kidding. Okay. The DeAngelo goal. I have to bring this up because I'm sure you guys all saw it, you know, in the highlight, but just look at this, look at 3 Sharks right here. I mean, this is almost like you can't even draw this up. It's so like artistic. And that is what, look at Reimer. Like, I can't see guys. And that shot gets through from DeAngelo. That's the Carolina goal tonight. And you know what? That in itself is kind of a statement. If the Sharks had won 1-0 in a shutout, I feel like it's the full statement, you know, in regulation. But because they had to come back, because Carolina did get a goal and they scored first, maybe it's not the full statement win. But I mean, there's an argument out there about, okay, do you try and block shots? Do you try and prevent it from even getting to Reimer? Or do you let him, do you let him see the puck the entire way and trust that he's going to make the stop? There's the Drew Remendez school of thought where you don't want to block any shots, let the goalie see everything. And then there's the Scott Hannon school of thought where you're going to block some shots and you can't get out of the way of everything. And what do I mean by that? A certain text chain that was blowing up my phone for most of the night. Those two guys going back and forth. I love it, by the way. And I know they love it too. It's a great conversation. What's the most effective way? But anyway, I just thought that was interesting. That right there was the Carolina goal tonight. Kind of a self-inflicted play by the Sharks. All right, let's go back to the chat. Yeah, great saves and performance by Reimer. Love seeing Reimer play. Is that Barabanov from the Leafs? Was he with Toronto before that? I don't think so. Not positive, actually. Don't get why Reims isn't the official starter at this point. You know, it's a great question, Haley. And I'm saying you pose a great question. I'm not saying I fully agree with that. Aiden Hill has been spectacular in strides this year, but Reimer has been more consistent. Does that make sense? And I also think you're earlier on here in the campaign where you don't want to give it all to one guy or the other and ice the other one out. I mean, you've got them both playing well. You want to sustain them both. And at some point, if the Sharks can turn it on a little bit, make a push, then maybe you ride the hotter hand. But at this point, we're 5 weeks into the season. Reimer's got 10 years under his belt. Adin Hill's got probably now about 50 starts in this league under his belt. I do think, and I agree with Brownie, I'd like to see Reimer get the start on Wednesday already. After the way he played tonight, at some point you have to reward the goalies for their play. But at the same respect, I don't think, you don't want to ice either one of these goalies. There you go, Maddie I answered your question even before I saw it. I think so. I think that's probably the idea. He should be named the starter, but I can see why they would want Hill. They just signed him. He's younger. Yeah, probably waiting for him to show some consistency. Well, and I just think that, again, you don't want Adin Hill to go a full week between starts multiple times over and over. And you're not looking for an excuse for Reimer to play bad. You're kind of just sitting in this tandem right now. And the team does not seem to be affected by it like it's impacting them that, every other night might be a different goalie. But look, I'm fine with it. I don't see goaltending this season or even right now as being a main issue. Sharks' lack of maybe consistent offense has been a thing. I don't think defensively they've had as many breakdowns this year as in prior seasons at all. I think their defensive game has improved. Their goaltending is definitely helping them out a lot more. So I don't want to mess with something. Wow. You know what's funny? So I just realized all the comments I'm getting to now were before I even started live streaming. Felt pretty good to give Carolina their first overtime loss on the season. Imagine Kane on this top six. There has been so much talk. In fact, let me just start this again because I know this portion is going to be its own separate video. There has been so much talk surrounding Evander Kane, and rightfully so, because as the Sharks have struggled to score goals, we know he led the team in that category last season. We also know that as I talk right now, we are 8 days away from his 21-game suspension concluding. Now, did I see the photo of his car at Sharks Ice on Saturday? Yes. Do I hear Shark players being asked about, is he welcome back on the team? Yes. Let me clarify just a few things here. Number one, I saw criticism towards the hockey media, hockey reporters in San Jose for even asking about Evander Kane to Shark players right now. I defend the players all the time. In fact, I've been criticized for defending the players too much, but I think those types of questions are completely in line right now. I don't think any of them have crossed the line, have been too much. I don't think it's been too persistent. And I'll be honest, sometimes it's the situation. If you're going to ask players about the Kane situation, do not ever do it in a postgame. That's completely uncalled for. And nobody has, right? And so long as you're asking the simple question, we know you're not in control, but do you welcome this teammate back inside the dressing room? I don't see that as an unfair question. Now, that's just me talking about the question. As for the responses, I think you've seen it and you saw it from Hurdle today. The video's on my channel here. You can go find it. The responses, I think, tell me more in what's not said versus what's said. A lot of people out there are saying, well, what are they supposed to say? I mean, you're right, and it is a hard situation to be in. These are not the GMs of the team. This is not the head coach. These are coworkers, right? So what are they supposed to say about the situation? They don't want to make their coworker look bad. They don't want to make their boss look bad. But at the same respect, again, I've already said I think the question is fair, but it's the responses, the body language, it's what you're expecting to hear, and then you're not hearing it, that kind of sets off all the red flags and the red lights of like, maybe this is just, there's still a large gap between Evander and the rest of the team. So that brings me to, okay, we've talked about the question being posed. Is that fair? The responses, all right. But now how about this? Like, what actually happens here? And I think for a lot of fans, there's two things. There's only two things for fans. Well, he either comes back and dresses on November 30th in New Jersey for game 22, or he doesn't join him at all and he just stays away from the team. I think there are about 4 or 5 other possibilities of things that happen in between there. And I also think that, and I understand too, the expectation that here we are, with 8, soon to be 7 days until the suspension is over. I understand there's a lot of expectation that, well, the Sharks already know what they're going to do. Evander knows what he's going to do. Why don't they just tell us? I think this is the point that we're witnessing in real time. This is such a complicated situation. It involves so many people and contracts and commitments and players association. Like, there's so much going on, and it all has to be done the right way in fairness to everybody, that they can't rush to this decision. So there are multiple things that can happen. I don't know what the outcome is. I said this a couple weeks ago, actually. The hypothetical that Evander comes back, he hasn't played a game in a long time, even if he has started training already, which I don't know to be the case. But if he started training already, he can't get a full training camp. And then are you really just going to, is that the right thing to do for him or the team or anybody, to just dress him for game 22 and play him? I feel like he's got to get almost like a training camp experience in. And a lot of people have talked about, well, the Barracuda have their season and you could play him there. Now, to do that, he'd have to clear waivers. And after that, you could assign him to the Barracuda. And the Sharks, I believe, would still be responsible for the full salary. It's crazy that an AHL player would make that much, but it would give him the opportunity to play games, get back into that timing and rhythm and shape. And I think it would also potentially bridge gaps with the Sharks players to understand that he's willing to do anything to rejoin the team. Now, this sounds like a penalty, and maybe is it viewed that way? Is that what it is? I don't know. But I'm actually looking at it more like, here's the chance for you to get in game shape, get all your timing and rhythm back. And yes, it's in a league that you certainly are overqualified for. Like, let's be very, very clear about that. But does an experience like that, does it help the optics? Does it help the relationships? Does it prove something? That you're really in this and you really want back and you really want it. Now, Evander hasn't said anything. I'll be honest, I haven't reached out. I don't know if anybody else has. What's he thinking through this? What's the thought process? Maybe he doesn't want back at all. I don't know. And maybe that's part of the things that we don't know of this very complex situation. So just to recap, and this conversation is only going to intensify in the 7 days and counting, because they're just going to get closer to this. People are going to want to know more answers. More players are going to get asked about this. So, like I said, so long as the line of questioning is similar to how it's been, and I don't think it's been a pressing issue this entire time, I'm fine with that. I don't expect much from the players, but again, I think it's more about body language and what they don't say rather than what they do say. And I'll leave it with this. I feel like I've kind of slanted this discussion one way. I do want to end it with this. I mean, optimally, don't you want to get somebody with Evander's talent back on your team? Don't you want this to work out? I mean, who wants there to be animosity forever? Who wants there to be tension, conflict, if that's what this rub? Who wants that? Don't you want it? I mean, if it can work out, don't you want it to work out? We're talking about somebody who can help, somebody who can contribute. And I don't know if I'm ready for, I don't know if anybody's ready for that, like, to happen in about a week's time. I don't know. But I mean, ultimately, don't you want this to work out? There is that too. I think for the Sharks to eventually conclude this situation one way or another, it will be a significant weight off of certain shoulders. It'll also help the team with whatever direction they're ultimately going to go in this season and beyond. So there was a lot on that. I apologize. Wow. Sorry. I did not mean to go full deep into that one, but I'm sure the live chat is buzzing about that, but hopefully some of that makes sense. Haley again. I keep clicking on Haley comments. All I see is really the comment and not even who posted it. But Rhymes is one of my favorite players this year. Haven't felt that way about a goaltender since the Nabby days. You didn't like anybody between then? You didn't like Martin Jones of 2015-16? But no, I get it. I was very excited to get James Reimer back this season. We only saw him that short stint of 2016 and knew there was a lot more to give. And here we are 5 years removed from it, and we're right about it. Let's see here. We're talking about goalies. Hill has promised. Letting them compete for the start is better in the long run, but rewarding them, for good results is always a good thing. You know what, Maddie? You said it perfectly right there. It is kind of that balance. You want competition, but you also want rewards to be able to happen when warranted. Offense is the problem, not defense. Give us one more top six wing and a legit right-handed goal scorer to replace Pavelski, and you think the Sharks can contend. And there you go. I mean, again, I don't know what to say about, the team, either way, right? Whether it's Evander or whether it's the cap space that they would, use, but they're not. I don't know how that's going to happen. I just don't know what they're going to conclude on this. But my point is, like, the team is structured to have one more player of that caliber, whether it's number 9 or another player who does the same thing. And to your point, adding that, getting that at some point is dramatically going to help. What trades or signings do I expect by the Sharks to make by TDL? Is that trade deadline? I talked about this in a prior video. In fact, I think I only posted it a couple days ago. The deadline of this season so far off still. I think we have to be at least at the 40 game mark. We're only at 18 to really know if you want to be a buyer this year, if it's worth it. And I think the conclusion from a lot of people was, even if things are going well, this is not the year where you sell what you've been stocking up, right? You're still trying to build for a push. I think that's I think them being big buyers was something we got used to, but I don't know that it'll be back soon, but it'll probably be back. I don't think Hurdle dodged the will Kane be welcome back question. I mean, it's hard to answer. Dodging it is, I have no comment. Or dodging it is a 2-word answer. I would agree that maybe he didn't fully speak his mind, but again, that's a tough situation to be in. I'm okay with the question being asked. I'm okay with everything pretty much everybody has said about the situation, but I think it's what you read into the body language more than the actual answer. There you go. You guys are reading my mind, honestly. And yeah, that's another thing. I mean, and let me also just say this, and I'm happy Meg to address this as best as possible. It's just that I don't know. Other people don't know. That there's a lot of unknowns. And I mean, even the people who are going to make I think, ultimate decisions here at this point. Today, they don't know. And they don't have to know yet. I'm sure there are some ideas and they know options, but they don't know exactly how this is going to play out. You know what's crazy, though? Here we are after one of the bigger Sharks wins of the season. They're basically back to 500, if you want to call it that. 18 games, they have 9 wins. They've lost a total of 9 times, 8 in regulation, 1 in overtime. And we're talking about Evander Kane. Not the team's game that just played. I mean, the Kane thing is that interesting. It's that much of a conversation surrounding this team right now. And to the point where it's kind of like reading a book, and we're on chapter 14 and there's only 18 chapters. Or if you want to do games, it's 21 chapters. We just finished chapter 18 tonight. There's only 3 more chapters left until we find out how this gets resolved. And I guess I look forward to that. I'll be honest, I look forward to that for all parties. So everybody can move on and work with it or be done with it or whatever. I'm not saying that, I'm so tired of talking about this, but at some point we may not know all that's going on, and it's only going to help everybody to resolve this. All right. Oh, and you watched the stream setup video. Never really seen somebody go so in depth with their equipment. Well, then there's me, a total geek, who has the live streaming setup here in the office and has one at home too. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Well, let me see more of the chat here. I skipped such a big section of this because I was trying to address a few topics here. There was something about Bonino getting off the schneid. Yeah. Oh, it's Haley again. Haley, you are ripping up the live chat tonight. You're getting all the appearances. Wonder what it'll take for Bonino to get off the schneid. Yeah, it's 18 games now. But again, look at his face-offs tonight. It's not like he's not doing things. He's just not getting the ultimate reward for the efforts. Oh, going back to those stats, who inputs them? I don't know. I feel like most of it is automated. The hits are obviously, and is such a stat. Hits and giveaways and takeaways. It's arbitrary. It's whoever is at the home rink that night. And sometimes you're like, wait, the Sharks are out hitting Calgary, or they're getting out hit 40-8? Is that even possible? And the game might feel one-sided, but not 40-8. It's such a arbitrary stat. It's okay. You can blow up the live chat at any time you want. Valar Morghulis. Oh, I know that one. That's a game. Well, come on. Everybody should know Game of Thrones here. Seemed like a lot of no calls against the Sharks. I'm not going to disagree with that. But as I said before, I think the Sharks can do more to draw more, to be perfectly fair. Darren, that's a great way to put it. Closure. I think that's what we're all looking for in this Kane situation, is just closure. And whether it's good closure or end of a chapter closure, it's going to do him better to be able to move on to something else. If that's what he wants to do. I don't know. I really don't have a read on exactly how this is going to play out. I mentioned the situation before about, potentially staying with the team, but I don't see how a player, if he's not playing games right now, it's almost like baseball. They do rehab assignments. That's what kind of playing with the Barracuda would be. I mean, in baseball, you don't look at it as like, well, I'm on the lot. If you're an Oakland A's player, well, I'm on the Las Vegas Aviators right now as I try and get back into shape and timing and my hitting rhythm and routine, or a lot of times they send a player to Single A Stockton for the A's. That's way below their level, but they're there on assignment to try and get reconditioned. And I think that has to be, it's probably on the list of ideas of things they could do. Reedy, yeah, he made his debut tonight. Didn't have much to show for it, but boy, one of the top Barracuda scorers, huh? 8 goals. He had 12 points. Gosh, I had all the info here on my other sheet. But and you know what? First NHL game, a lot going on, tough opponent, not a lot of time and space out there. I'm sure this game felt a lot different than what he'd been playing this year as a rookie in the AHL. Give him a couple games. Let's see how it goes. And actually, you know, he's in, right, for Dahlin's absence. I hope we see Jonathan Dahlin way sooner than later. Yeah, it'll be great to get him back. I don't want anything interrupting his season or what he means to the team. Top line player. Such a freak thing for Jonathan Dahlin. Brody's footwear. Let's get to the big thing, Brody. Those shoes you're rocking tonight. Okay, and so I see. So Puck Guy, Eric makes the first comment, and then AJ follows it up with Brody's footwear sponsored by Echo. But you know what? You're actually... AJ, you're wrong. I just took off my shoe to show you here. See if my camera... Oh, look how... This camera is pretty good. I got to be honest. This is not my normal, like, studio camera. Look at that. Focus on me. Can you see that? Cole Haan right there. Oh, they're dirty too. Yeah, I kind of like these. These are super comfortable. This is one of the first shoes I ever got that has kind of a meshy top. I did a review of these Nike shoes called Space Hippies that I wear a lot, which are kind of like this, where it's a hard rubber sole and then like kind of like a foam soft top. But yeah, they look like dress shoes. They're really comfortable. You know what? I tried to go with the two-tone suit thing tonight. I did not like the way it turned out. And I didn't realize that until I walked out on the set. It's like, oh, I should have looked in a mirror before I got out here. It was not my best showing, I'll be honest. Yes, I did just take this shoe off my foot. In fact, just to prove it, here's one shoe, here's the other shoe. I'm not wearing any shoes right now. I leave a whole wardrobe here. So I leave a lot of clothes actually at work. Until it's time to bring them home, launder them, all that stuff. But the truth is, especially during baseball season, I put a suit or whatever on for the show. As soon as the show's over, take it off. Hockey's different because intermissions and stuff, there's not a lot of time to go clothes on, clothes off, or, street clothes, work clothes. A's, Raiders, Dubs, Sharks. I met you, a while back. You drove by the offices the other day. Well, maybe someday you'll drive here and come to work. Wouldn't that be something? Really missing Dahlin. How stinky is the shoe right now? I don't have stinky feet. You guys can't believe I just did that, huh? It's not. It's either I can't smell anything or I have COVID right now. I don't think it's the latter. No, I don't really do much in these shoes. I want to see some comments about Brazil smelling his own shoes. Oh, thanks, AJ. Now you tell me that the two-tone suits never work. You should have told me that, he would have. I'm surprised he didn't say anything. He was texting me all night. Oh, man. Dahlin's Ben are the fourth line forward post Eklund. What? We are so gifting that, bro. Your eyes are watering. Bruh. Oh, here come the chats. Night shift, shoe edition. Next step is shotgunning a beer out of the shoe. You can see his eyes watering. They're not. They are not. Yes, it is the new COVID test to smell your shoe. I'll probably clip this little video off and make this one for the YouTube channel too. Yeah, free content. He will. I'd give it a sniff. Anyway, all right. Wow. 11:20. How long have I been streaming for? I mean, whoops. I didn't mean to pull that up. I apologize. Oh, I didn't mean to pull that up either. 3 stars by Dan Rusanowski. Wait a second. Let's go back and pull this up for a second here. Ruzy. You gave Auntie Ronta a 3rd star tonight. Maybe Tony D'Angelo led their team in shots, got their goal. Ronta got scored on twice. I guess he was 2 or fewer. You don't have to give the opponent 3 stars when they lose. I mean, even in overtime. Other arenas don't do it for the Sharks. Is there anything else I missed here on this stat sheet? Oh, Ferraro with 2 apples. See, that's something that honestly, I'm not sure I was instantly aware of tonight. And that sometimes you just got to go back and, they don't always add the secondaries right away. Well, it's not instantly obvious. So it's important to go back through this stuff. And how about if I go over here to the old standings? So how do the standings look here in the division? Make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, so you still have Calgary. You got the Alberta teams on top. Did Anaheim finally lose their streak? And, oh, wow, the Ducks went from 8 wins in a row to now losing 2. They are human. Golden Knights just ahead of the Sharks. It's going to be tough to crack these playoffs this year again in this division. But you know what? Do I root for all the California teams as one? Of course not. I root for one of them. But I do hope that, the Kings, Sharks, and Ducks can, they were at the bottom. Now, clearly, with Vancouver and Seattle doing that work, now they're in the middle, and hopefully those 3 can. It's fun, right? It was fun for that all those years when it was the Kings, Sharks, and Ducks, and they were all good, and you knew that they would probably all finish 1, 2, 3 in the division, just who would ultimately get it. All right, let me close all this down, rattle through some of the chat. Shoey. Shoe review and smell test. Sniff and pass. Brazil approved. Smell-o-vision. Wait, do I have this here?
It's Smell-o-vision.
Yeah. All right. Eric, who started this, my bad. Appreciate the recommendation. Smell-o-vision. Yeah, when you're smelling your own shoe, it's probably time to wrap it up. Smell those stats. Oh, the refs get the 3rd star of the night. I feel like my shoe sniff probably that should probably have deserved a star tonight. Don't diss the honorary Swede Weatherby. Great primary apple for him. No, I like Jasper. I think there's a reason he skipped final year of college. He's in this league. I think this is going to be a solid season for Weatherby. I think it's going to get better as it goes for him. Absolutely. Mario's the secret sauce of your fantasy team. Leads in blocks. Yeah, I agree. You know what? I said the other day on a YouTube video that this is Mario's breakout season in the NHL. I think that's fair. They said, well, what was last year? Well, quite honestly, his first year wasn't a full season, but it was kind of where we noticed him. And then last year, I felt like there were some times where the team defensively just did not have it together. And I'm talking about forwards and D-man and everybody. And I feel like there was a little bit of regression with Mario. Not his fault. Honestly, not his fault at all. But he might have had a better first season than last season. But this season, if he took a half step back last year, I feel like he's taken 2 steps forward this year. Am I scared that Brownie is going to fire more pucks at me? I'm always scared. Those pucks are real too, right? Oh, the Kraken logo. You like the Kraken logo. Any thoughts on the Eichel trade? Did he get traded again from Las Vegas? Yeah, I agree with this. Anybody but Las Vegas. They've already benefited from too many things. I would have rather he played in Calgary. I know they're also in the division, but it just gets them out of Vegas. Scratch and sniff. Someone said shiff. Shoe sniff. Now I can't even talk. Oh, Ferraro for the Norris. Are we going to have a Mario Ferraro? Wait, not Burnsy for the Norris? So Ferraro for Norris and Jonathan Dahlin for the Calder, right? This is how we'll end it. All I know is that tonight smelled like a win. I agree. All right. That is, I think, where I'm going to leave it for tonight. I still have a bit of a commute to go home, some things to pack up, but let's just recap. For the Sharks, facing adversity. They hadn't won in 2 games. They hadn't scored in 6 periods. 130-plus minutes without a goal. They get one tonight in the 3rd period early. They take it to overtime. They draw a penalty late in the 3rd. Barabanov scores on a unbelievable pass by Tomas Hertl. Maybe so unbelievable that it wasn't entirely intentional. But again, they did a good job managing tonight's game, managing the lead that they did not have. They kept it close. They kept it 1-0. No score for a long time, 1-0 for a long time. And then when it mattered, at the end, they equalized, took their first lead in overtime, and that was it. All right, that's it here for a Monday night, everybody. Be safe. I'll talk to you soon. Good night.